Hey everyone, welcome to the Slice of Healthcare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is Dr. Ed Chekan, the Vice President of Medical Affairs and Professional Education at Asensus Surgical. How are you today?
Good, Jared. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you. You've quite the title. I have to shorten it. It's a good title. Uh,
Tongue twister.
yeah, it's a
Yes.
tongue twister. I'm really excited to chat with you here today. By the way, Dr. Chekan, would love to just start off by hearing about your background, and then we'll dive more into Asensus Surgical.
Sure. So first, yeah, Jared, thanks for having me. My background is in general surgery. I did my general surgery residency in Pittsburgh, and then I went on to do a fellowship in laparoscopic surgery in the late '90s, which was kind of the heyday of laparoscopic surgery. And one of my years in fellowship was a lab year, a research year, and it was in '98, '99 when we started thinking about things like. Everybody had a different tool for laparoscopic surgery, but we started thinking about, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we could have a robotic system, or what if we had a single robot, or then what about the videos? We have all these videos. How do we collate these videos? How do we store them? And we had videos piled up in the conference rooms on VHS tapes and everything. And I really got interested in that kind of side of things, and went on and did my clinical career in the academic side of things in private practice. And then I transitioned into to kind of pursue that interest into a career in medical device and manufacturing and laparoscopic instrumentation, up to the point where I've been with Asensus now here for just over a year. Well, actually coming up on 2 years now, pretty quickly. And that's the kind of the sweet spot where we have a robotic telemanipulator system coupled with augmented intelligence capabilities.
And if you could, thank you so much for the quick intro. I know our audience would really be interested too in hearing about what your role looks like, your day to day at Asensus Surgical, and then any other details you want to add. Assuming we have some listeners that haven't fully heard of Asensus Surgical beyond what you just shared with us.
Sure. So it is an interesting role where we have, the medical affairs kind of space. I kind of divided into buckets of we're responsible for education or for teaching, be it sales training or just information transfer to our colleagues out in the field in different ways. The quality side of things, where we try and help with patient safety, and the a kind of research side of things that we do in clinical research and preclinical research or health economics research. And then what I got really interested in was the idea of product innovation and trying to help kind of marry the unmet clinical need with engineering expertise in order to give a meaningful product that doctors and patients can use. And so as a clinician or with a clinical background, we were able to bring that to the table as far as the clinical relevance or the clinical need for an instrument. So our group is that medical affairs group, and we interface very kind of typically and usually with the R&D groups and the regulatory groups, quality groups, those kind of folks.
And I would love to dig deep into, specifically surgical robotics and how those platforms benefit the surgeon. And then a part two to that, have you seen that it's able to prolong a surgeon's career as a result?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know about prolong as much, but it certainly can help. And I think that one of the biggest things that we found, back when we were just getting started with laparoscopy, in the 1990s, late 80s, 90s, we found ourselves in a lot of contorted positions with the trocars, in various locations, that we had our arms kind of all contorted, and that ended up a lot of myself included and other peers in physical therapy and things, that because of neck and back strain, because concentrating so much on what we're doing and not as much on the body positioning that we're keeping ourselves in for long periods of time. And so just distancing ourselves, sitting down and having this interface like we have here with a computer and a camera made a lot of ergonomic benefits for surgeons in that side of in that kind of realm of um, comfort that allows you to concentrate more, especially when you're doing something that is a fine motor that we don't find our kind of larger body or upper body in a contorted position, and we can just concentrate on what we're doing with our hands and our arms. So that has made a tremendous difference, and I think that has kind of fostered a lot of the goodwill for robotic kind of interventions into laparoscopic surgery or robotic assisted laparoscopic surgery for that reason alone.
And these next couple questions, by the way, I'm gonna kind of rapid fire them at
Yeah,
you. But because I want to make sure you're I love all your responses so far. It's great hearing more about the company and your approach. Uh, can you explain the process to me of building the ISU, and then what are the benefits of a technology like this?
yeah. So we have our telemanipulator, which is the robotic arms, and the robotic arms basically um, we sit at a console, we move our hands and arms, and that motion is translated into a telemanipulator where the arms move with instruments attached to them from the robotic base. The ISU, or the Intelligent Surgical Unit, is another kind of element of the system where the motions as well as the camera images are loaded into this box, which is basically a processor, a video processor, and computer that then transfers the information from all of the arms as well as the video to the cloud. And we're working with Google Cloud platforms to enable us to do that, and then processes that information. Um, I think it's easy to digest that we're able to process that information to look at nothing else, look at the video later and learn from the video, annotate the video, and learn from it. But we're also interested in having some information transfer during the procedure that we can actually help surgeons do surgery better at that particular case. And right now we have initiatives in augmented intelligence. That the best way I would describe that is the kind of yellow line on the football field. That I don't know, maybe a lot of people don't remember back anymore. Back when we'd watch football without the yellow line, and now we see it all the time, and that's what we're hoping to bring to surgery is that augmented intelligence or this augmented reality that we can have in surgery that would be go here or don't go there, instead of just the first down marker or something like that. And so we have a lot of ideas. We're always looking for new ideas if people have ideas as to what kind of things along those lines would be helpful, in different ways.
I love the football analogy in there. That is a great example. It's hard to think back what you do without the line. I mean, we still yell at the line, right?
We still
We still
that's
think it's wrong, right? There's no way that's where the
That's right.
first down
That's
is
right. Or we have to wait for them to move the chains. Then we're like, well, why are we moving the chains? I could see right there it's a first down. Like, why are we doing that?
because they don't have
And
the line,
yeah, that's
right?
right. They don't have the
Yeah,
line, right?
it's
But you can see it plain as day, right? From where you are. It is truly remarkable.
what are some of the additional kind of challenges when completing minimally invasive surgery, and then it wouldn't be a podcast. It wouldn't be 2023 if I didn't say, how does AI help with some of these challenges?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, it comes down into objectifying our progress. What kind of metrics can we use? And the kind of robotic telemanipulation, has moved the needle tremendously. And there are studies out there that show how well it has helped in surgical ergonomics. But in improving clinical outcomes, it's been harder to discern. When we went from open to laparoscopic surgery, the patient benefits were off the charts. We would do a gallbladder, an open gallbladder. The patient would be in the hospital for 4 or 5 days sometimes, whereas nowadays we're doing a lap chole on the same day. And so we do a robotic laparoscopic cholecystectomy, and it's still going home the same day. And so the patient, it's harder to kind of improve on that paradigm when the incision size remains the same. So we're looking for ways to kind of show objectively that these adjuncts to surgery help in different types of outcomes, and trying to look at different outcome metrics or categories of metrics that might resonate with surgeons and with patients, to say, yeah, I think that would be very helpful, and let's set out to kind of prove that if we can. But it's difficult, because currently we're just, I guess one of the kind of the ways I would explain it is, I think if you changed your wiper blades on your car, we'd all agree that, boy, you could see better and you probably are going to avoid an accident. But it'd be really hard to prove it was those wiper blades that resulted in you not in something not happening. And so that's where we're trying to facilitate things within surgery to make them easier, maybe even safer. But it's really hard to prove that that's the case, because it's an incremental improvement oftentimes in a multifactorial process that leads to some type of untoward sequelae that we're trying to avoid. It's a piece of the puzzle.
And with that piece of the puzzle, right, when you look at AI and robotics, because they're continuing to complement each other very well, right? Where do you see that space going in the next 5 to 10 years? And specifically, it doesn't just have to be about the surgery. We'll talk about where do you see that in the healthcare industry, and maybe just even more broadly, if you want to share your thoughts.
Well, I think the AI piece, and for surgery, is mostly what I've been looking at. It will be in, like in other places, in data sharing. We have a tremendous amount of information that we can see in an operative video case, and some of the things that aren't as visible to us or aren't as visible to the untrained eye. And as we start sharing these videos together, and we get a collective kind of consciousness in and around the data that is captured on these videos, then we will probably start seeing trends as to how people think of doing things in certain situations, and how to do them better. And we'll train our eyes better, so to speak, or maybe when our eyes can't see it, something else will be able to see it because it's imperceptible to us. And the kind of analogy that I would say there is, I don't know too much about art, but I like going to the art museum, and I'll walk around there and say, well, that's a nice painting. But if you go around with somebody that knows about art and they explain to you what you can actually see in that painting and how that's different than this painting, it's that level of information we're trying to bring to the video image of laparoscopic surgery, and so that people can appreciate, learners and then experts and beyond could look at that image and see things that maybe they weren't able to see before, even though it was already captured in that video image. That we're just trained better to look for those types of subtlety and subtle differences to either keep us out of harm's way or expedite a procedure, something like that.
Super interesting, huh? Well, as we wrap up here, would love to what you can share. I know there are certain things you can't. What are you excited about next for Asensus Surgical moving forward?
Well, I think what we're excited about is this continuing evolution of an iterative generation of these digital solutions to add to the surgeon's digital armamentarium. And so I'm real excited about the kind of pipeline that we would have for those types of applications. And like you said, can't share too much about it, but there's planned releases for that. There's some things that are closer than others, and some things that are easier than others, and we're really excited to start sharing those ideas with people once it's the right time. So that's what I keep my eye on.
Well, I'm really excited to continue the conversation with you, and hopefully we can have you come back on and we can dig even deeper. But really
Sure.
appreciate you joining as a guest here today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jared.